What's up, folks? Ready for some takedowns? It's top 10 times MMA fighters refuse to hit their opponents, and thank goodness for that. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to this channel. What you're about to see in this video are some pretty cool dudes. I mean, come on, it's the UFC, the MMA, it's the Octagon, with teeth smashing, knee breaking, grounds and pounds. And yet, there have been some fighters who just refuse to hit their opponents. Can you believe that? I mean, when you're on top, you gotta do everything for a takedown, right? But no, it appears that this is not always the case. Check out why these 10 MMA fighters refuse to hit their opponents. First up, we have Mike Pantanko, an amateur MMA fighter who was on his way to an easy victory in his bout with Jeremy Rasner in the Prison City Fight League in Michigan. Pantanko, who seemed to be dominating his opponent Rasner, left the crowd speechless when he simply tapped out of the fight. It definitely wasn't the expected outcome, wouldn't you agree? But why did Pantanko tap out? This is crazy, man. The fight was completely in his favor, and he even got some serious shots on Rasner. Pantanko even stunned and confused Rasner. I mean, if it were me, I'd go, dude, seriously? Rasner was left wondering what just happened. After taking the loss and walking away calmly, Pantanko commented, "I just feel like there's no point in fighting him, because he didn't train against me and I didn't train for him. And I just feel like we're amateur fighters. We don't get money, we don't get paid." Pantanko went on to say he was scared he might have ended up putting Rasner in the hospital or injuring him severely. "I'm just going to give him the win." No one can deny Pantanko could have chosen to just rain down some more blows, which could have sent Rasner out on a stretcher. But he chose to save the poor guy instead. What's your take on this? Was it disrespect? Insulting? Or was Pantanko being a bloody jolly good sport? Next up, we have Chad George versus Mark Vargas at Bellator 136, which was held in Irwin, California, USA. Both fighters were locked in a position where they could have choked out each other. While Vargas was on the ground, George was in side control. It may have seemed like Vargas had the guillotine in and there was no chance to escape for George, but George had something else up his sleeve and decided to stay in that choke position because he knew the guillotine wasn't effective since he had already taken side control. When George finally managed to free himself from Vargas's grip, it looked bad for Vargas because George was ready for the ground and pound. This, however, never happened because George had already choked out Vargas with a rare Von Flue choke, which the referee himself failed to notice. George, realizing that Vargas was already out cold instantly, appealed to the ref to stop the fight. George could have chosen to pound Vargas till the referee stopped the fight, but chose to spare Vargas any unnecessary damage. Was not the best refereeing in a professional bout, but that was super cool of George. Who hasn't heard of the Dragon? If you haven't, you're not a UFC fan for sure. All combat sports and MMA fans have heard of Lyoto the Dragon Machida, the former UFC light heavyweight champion. Well, it was in one of his best fights that he showed tremendous restraint, even when his opponent was unable to fight back or defend himself. It was a middleweight bout at Fight Night 30 in England. And guess who his opponent was and why he wasn't able to defend or fight back? It was none other than Mark Munoz, Lyoto Machida's longtime friend and occasional training partner. Despite choosing to spare his opponent a brutal onslaught, the fight ended pretty well and everyone applauded Lyoto's actions and performance. The fight ended with a lightning-fast kick to the head of Mark Munoz, which knocked him out cold. Instead of following up with the usual ground and pound, Lyoto held back his fists because he knew the fight was already over and there was no reason to injure his buddy any further. Now ain't that really sweet? Not only did Lyoto show the crowd one hell of a fight with a devastating knockout, but he also displayed amazing sportsmanship at the end of the fight. At UFC 135, the main card started off with Nick Diaz defeating Pride legend Takanori Gomi. But before Diaz was able to secure the win via a triangle transitioned armbar, Gomi dominated on foot, keeping Diaz at bay with his amazing striking skills. Even after eating several hard shots from Gomi, the Fireball Kid Nick wasn't fazed at all. They don't call him the Fireball Kid for nothing. Gomi kept signaling to the referee to stop the fight because he didn't want to hit Diaz any longer because he was already hurt pretty bad. Ignoring Gomi's requests, the referee allowed the fight to continue. In a desperate attempt, Gomi shot for a takedown, which was a huge mistake. Nick knew what he was doing when he allowed Gomi to get him on his back on the ground, and oh man, that was a killer move when he instantly caught Gomi into gogoplata. The triangle choke ended the fight via submission. The fight became one of the greatest MMA fights of all time. Wasn't that awesome? In a bantamweight at UFC 250, Sean O'Malley fought against divisional veteran Eddie Wineland. The match against Wineland may not have been overly competitive. During the fight, O'Malley was able to land some fantastic combos along with some flashy kicks, but it was a picture-perfect right hand down the middle that knocked Wineland senseless. If you thought a brutal ground and pound was in store for Wineland, you're mistaken. Instead, O'Malley just stood there eyeballing the fallen and unconscious Wineland. Seeing that Wineland was not getting up or showing any signs of movement, the referee stopped the fight, awarding O'Malley with a KO victory. Kudos to O'Malley for being so sporting. At UFC Fight Night 174, referee Herb Dean was widely criticized for not making a decision to stop the fight between Francisco Trinaldo and Jai Herbert. Trinaldo is facing off against the promotional debutant Jai Herbert, whom he knocked out in the third and final round. Trinaldo landed a crushing blow which dropped Herbert, but rather than following up with the ground and pound, Trinaldo pleaded with Dean for seconds to stop the fight while holding his hand up above his dazed opponent. When Herb Dean didn't call the stoppage, Trinaldo followed up with a few more shots. Even commentators Dan Hardy and Paul Felder protested. In the aftermath of the fight, Dan Hardy was seen angrily yelling at Herb Dean for his late call. Both Hardy and Dean had a heated back and forth in the media. Trinaldo said he was more concerned about Jai's health than getting a clear knockout victory. When MMA fighter Brian Stann faced off against Alessio Sakara in UFC on Fuel 2, he got himself back on track with a knockout victory in the very first round. But Stann found his range early on into the fight, allowing him to drop Sakara with a vicious knee. He then mounted and hammered away at a guarded Sakara and ended the fight with some devastating left hooks. But Stann noticed that the referee wasn't intervening. He then stopped his flurry of left hooks, sparing Sakara further damage. Almost everyone saw Sakara drop his guard as he was knocked out cold for a few moments by Stann's hooks. The only person who didn't was the referee. Come on, ref, are you stoned or what? In the main event of UFC Fight Night 158 in Vancouver, Justin Gaethje came off with a first-round TKO win against Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Gaethje ended the fight with an awesome, short, but crushing right hand which rocked Cerrone so bad he wasn't able to stay up on his knees. This wasn't enough for the referee to stop the fight, forcing Justin to reluctantly land some follow-up shots for a TKO. When the referee felt he saw enough, he ended the fight. Soon after, there was a heated exchange between Gaethje and the referee. Justin felt he had to land a few extra shots more than what he needed to end the fight. Ben Davis fought Maslam Rusla in the Centurion Championship and was able to secure a first-round TKO victory. But Davis got the victory only after he told the referee that Rusla was out unconscious. It all started when Davis managed to take down Rusla and landed some heavy blows from above. He punched from every angle with a series of combinations that knocked out Rusla. Despite this, the ref didn't stop the fight, which prompted Davis to tell the ref, who was right on top of the action, to call it. Only after seeing that Rusla wasn't making any attempts to fight back or move did the ref stop the fight and declare Davis the winner of the bout. Davis had to stop himself from beating on Rusla and literally argue with the ref to stop the fight. What is with these bloodthirsty refs these days? Mark Hunt, aka the King of the Walk-Off, was a fan favorite with a surprising speed and agility along with his ungodly knockout power. During his reign through the UFC's heavyweight division, Hunt got signed up to go up against fellow veteran Frank Mir at UFC Fight Night 85 in Australia. Hunt ended the fight in the very first round with a picture-perfect right hand, which sent Mir crashing down. Knowing he got in a clean hit, Hunt casually walked off like he always does in all of his fights. It was a good call by the referee to stop the fight though. Mir was clearly rocked hard by Hunt's powerful right. Hunt's nature not only stopped him from dealing any unnecessary damage to Mir, but also earned him a whole lot of cheers and applause from the crowd. Now that's my man.